And we should be recording. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this, the very first Tech Thursday webinar of the year of 2021. New year, new vibes. My name is Juan Carlos Gamarra. I'm a volunteer with the PMI Northeast Ohio chapter. And today, Mr. Bill Cook is going to be providing us with some insight and experience, some helpful tips and tricks as to how to use a Smartsheet for project management, workflow management. So let's go ahead. We're going to be using the meeting feature of Zoom. So in case anyone has their microphone activated, please make sure to mute it. I am going to be monitoring all incoming questions and comments that enter via the chat. Definitely, I would like to give some special shout outs to our sponsors, Apex Systems, Strategic Systems, and Tech Systems. Thank you so much for your support. Now, definitely would like to mention that there are many free resources and webinars recorded in the PMI NEO website. So you can go ahead by going to the website, clicking on careers, and there are a number of courses, certification, assistance, webinars, all sorts of helpful tools and content that will help you gain a better understanding of project management practices, tools, as well as get ready for any certification you may be pursuing in the future. These are some of it. We have partnered with Peak Business. They are an education provider. There are also VelociTeach courses available. Definitely feel free to reach out if you would like more information, which is available for free in our website. There is also a job board. We are definitely a provider of learning opportunities, but also we have a job board feature in our website, so that anyone who is currently looking for a job or looking for a change in careers can get more information here. For sure, if that's a situation you're in, please make sure to join us and follow us on LinkedIn, where you can network with all of our members and be on the loop of new opportunities that these are posted. Any questions and answers, again, please post those in the chat. If anyone is not able to see my screen, the slide presentations, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we're ready to get started.
All right, let me share my screen here.
It's all yours.
All right, so hello everybody. My name is Bill Cook. I'm going to talk about Smartsheets. I'm really just going to run through just a couple things. One is just a high-level overview of what Smartsheet is and how it works, and then show you what we've built to run our PMO here at GE Lighting. I assume everybody can hear me, and I assume everybody can see this slide. All right, so GE Lighting. So GE Lighting, everybody knows, everybody I'm sure on the phone has GE light bulbs in their house. So started in 1911 by Thomas Edison, and we're headquartered here in Cleveland. It's a picture over on the right there of what it looked like just a couple weeks ago. We were recently acquired by a company called Savant Systems, which is a high-end smart home automation company in Boston, Hyannis, Massachusetts. And we are in the middle of that, the merger activities right now. So combining systems and exiting GE systems and doing all that kind of stuff. So you may notice a lot of our projects kind of reflect that. And I put a little advertising in here for Sync. So Sync is the new product name for what was before called C by GE light bulbs. And there's a bunch of new products, that are rolling out soon, in addition to light bulbs and switches. And it's actually pretty cool stuff. So keep an eye out for it, I guess. So for me, I am a technical project manager. I've been at GE Lighting for 4-ish years. I started as a contractor and then came on board. Most of my work, what I'm responsible for anyways on paper is pure infrastructure work. So identity management, we use SAP, and my first project was moving it from on-prem to the cloud. A lot of network work that gets done. And then I probably meant to say something besides migration. I guess that's the migration over to Savant, and Office 365 is a big part of that, is a kind of a core infrastructure service with email and Teams and OneDrive and SharePoint and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I work. I previously been at some of the bigger places around town. Like I said, I've been here for about 4 years, and then just so you get some idea that I kind of know what I'm talking about, I think. GE Lighting, we were the winner of the Project of the Year award, I think 2018, but it may have been 2019. So there you go. All right, so just a couple of quick slides about the high level sales pitch for Smartsheet, right? So I'm not going to read all that. Smartsheet is hard to describe. I used to describe it by saying, well, it's just, it's an online version of Excel that has some automation built behind it. But it's really much more than that. It's kind of, it's very extensible. You can talk to all kinds of APIs. You can integrate with all kinds of applications. You can, build it out any way you want. What I'm going to show you is we use just the core product here today. So there's a core product, and we'll see these in a couple other slides, and then you can build it out. Everything you're going to see today is in the base core product. And it has done these things. So our PMO is more effective than it used to be. This silo thing has definitely gone away. There's a lot more visibility into what's going on. It's not really because of Smartsheet itself, but having a tool in Smartsheet. And I think this velocity improvement is true. There's automation and just having everything in a consistent place across the board is pretty valuable. It's used, so again, we're exiting GE. But GE itself is a big user of Smartsheet. So, they've got 250,000 employees. And so, they understand its value, which is a big signal to us. And it's, it tells you that their security and whatnot is what it needs to be. And that's true. So like I was saying, there's all kinds of ways to use Smartsheets. These are, again, this is a Smartsheet sales slide, if you will. So we use it in all kinds of different ways. I'm going to show you the PMO, but if we have time at the end, I can show you just real quickly some samples of other things we do. And coming back to that, it's hard to describe what it is that you don't know what people do with it, and you don't know what people can do with it. So when I started with Smartsheets, I didn't know what it was. I really had no great interest in doing it, but I was kind of, pushed in that direction that we wanted to move away from our PMO ran with PowerPoint slides. like everybody's does. And we wanted to move away from that to more live information and dashboards and that kind of stuff. So I started working in Smartsheet and found how useful it is. And people started seeing that and just started spreading across the organization. So there, any questions about any of that? I'll move this window so I can see the chat window. No, I'm not. I don't think I can see that while I'm presenting. All right, so
There are no questions at the moment, Bill.
High level about what Smartsheet is. Again, not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just to give you some context about what we're going to look at in a minute. So Smartsheet has, in the middle is this core capabilities, and again, that's what we use. We don't have any of these integrations or connectors or accelerators. We don't do any of this kind of premium stuff today. We are looking at integrating Smartsheet and Jira. So that would be the first one that we do, and there's certainly others that are of interest. We just haven't really just gotten there yet. We're pretty effective just in the base tool, and we're still learning. So this is kind of what they would tell you what it looks like. In the end, it comes down to the interface. So this is a big piece of it. So this grid is very much like an Excel spreadsheet. It uses formulas that are exactly like Excel formulas. And it's where you would build out a project plan, and you can display it as a Gantt chart, and you can do all that stuff. So we'll look at an actual one. I guess there's the Gantt chart down below. You can also look at this things in a card view and treat it more as a agile Scrum board kind of thing. We do that not in our PMO. We do that in the infrastructure team that I work on, and I'll probably show you that. And then you can also look at it as a calendar view, and all these views are pulling from the same data set. And you don't have to build much here. That's just the way it works. You put everything in this grid, load up the data, and you can just switch views. So you'll see that. Outside, go back. Outside of this grid or the Gantt chart, which are the same thing, or this card view, the other thing that matters is dashboards. So for us, that's the ultimate deliverable. Well, the ultimate deliverable is delivering projects on time and on budget. But in terms of Smartsheets, right, this dashboards is what we're producing in the end. So you'll see that. Portal is the same thing as a dashboard. I don't know why they talk about it like this in Smartsheet. They're just saying that this is more static information. You can kind of build like a mini website, if you will, real simple, maybe and pull some basic information, where this is reading real-time view into KPIs and trends and all that kind of stuff. I guess we used to do this. I used to have some of this portal stuff. We've kind of replaced it. And then there are a couple other pieces. So forms, and we'll look at all these things. So a form is it's a form. So you build a form, and when you fill it out and submit it, it adds a new record to your database. That's its purpose in life. So it's always adding a new record to your data set. Reports are just exactly what you would think they would be. They're building, so these reports are very text-driven, very flat. They're building right now. They're starting to advertise that it's coming soon is like a hierarchical approach and more graphical approach to some of the reports, which will be very helpful. Reports are great, but if you get past just even a minimal amount of data, they just get overwhelming, and they cease being useful to look at in most cases. Workflows, which we'll talk about again, is where some of the magic happens in Smartsheets. So you will see in my stuff that I've built, I don't use a ton of workflows. I use just a couple, 3 key ones that keep things moving. There's a couple more I should use. I just haven't had enough time to build them. And there's definitely opportunity in different solutions that you're building. For the PMO, I'm just collecting data on a weekly basis, more or less. So I mentioned before, there's all these integrations. So these are all things that Smartsheet can talk to. We also, I mentioned that we don't do any, it's in here. Well, Jira, we're talking about using, we use Okta for single sign-on at Savant, GE Lighting Savant, and we use that as well. That's just a plug-in, you don't pay for any extra for that. And I think we're going to start looking at doing some more integration here. I'd like to integrate with Teams, which we are a pretty heavy user of. DocuSign is something that's useful. And beyond that, SAP, obviously. You know, the problem, in my view, the problem with these things is you integrate them and you get the value from them, which is fantastic. But when things change or you want to exit things, it's just so much more difficult. I'm probably overly sensitive to that. I've been involved in several divestitures, merger acquisitions over the last 4 or 5 years. So it seems like we're always getting rid of stuff. So I want to avoid that pain. Any questions about any of that?
Yes, Bill, we do have one question at the moment. Is Smartsheet an open source product?
No, it's smart. So Smartsheet is it's a publicly traded company, I believe. I think it's on the New York Stock Exchange. It's their product. You can't. I don't even think that there's a. You can't go create an account just for yourself like you can with a lot of tools like Box or OneDrive or Dropbox, right? You can go out and you can create an account for yourself and you can use those tools and you can share stuff with people in other companies, and that's true of Slack as well or Teams. Smartsheet isn't like that. You have to have a plan in order to do that. So sorry. All right, so I'm going to talk about how we use this as well. So I'm going to switch over actually to Smartsheet. So just a quick disclaimer before I do that. So I can't really show you that. Well, I didn't want to. I'm not allowed to. Don't want to show you our live PMO information. We have a lot of projects that are going on that are pretty strategic in nature. So I basically copied our PMO thing, which required a lot of tweaking. So if I missed anything, I'll just apologize in advance. So one or two things could be broken. Hopefully that's not the case. All right. It's over here. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So this is the basic Smartsheet interface. There's basically two ways to set things up, and we'll go into all this. So there's sheets, so you can just create individual sheets. These are sheets. I don't do a lot of this. We work in this workspace area, but sheets are just individual sheets. It's kind of one-off things that you're probably using yourself or with one other person. And then you can share that sheet, if you will, with one person at a time. Workspaces is where I do most of my work, as you can see here. So this is GE Lighting's live Smartsheet instance that we're looking at. So these are all actual things that are going on right now. And this demo stuff is what I copied. So workspaces allow you to combine more complicated sets of data just into folders that are self-contained, and they allow you to share easier. You can share with multiple people at once. You can share many things with many people at a time. So that's kind of what the purpose of that structure is. And I think I'm going to, actually, I think I'll show you, I'm just going to go into a couple things. So number one, this is what a grid looks like. So this is a list of all our projects that are going on, including closed projects, backlog projects, so on and so forth. And again, I tweaked all this data, so in most cases you won't see. I'm just going to filter this to just show you the live stuff. In most cases, you'll see maybe some nonsensical names or some nonsensical updates. That's just for the purpose of this. So anyways, this is a grid. And you use it just like you use in Excel. You add information. You can create drop downs. You can create rules. I don't know if I have a whole lot of rules in here. about what, you can say it has to be a number, it has to be a number between these two things. You can create auto numbering fields. You can have symbols in the field. So if I click on this, actually, it gives me a bunch of choices for different symbols that I can use, which is actually helpful. We use those. You can, have dates, and you can force dates and all that kind of stuff. So it's like in that case, it's like Excel, except you can put some constraints on the cells that are in there. Nobody goes in this sheet except me, as the admin of our PMO. So nobody goes in here, and all the information, or 99% of information in this sheet, is just static information. So it's just text or names or more text or values from a drop down that are in each of these things. So we'll come back to that. So this is that's what a grid looks like. I could switch. I don't know what this will look like because never done it, but I can switch this to a Gantt view and slide this over here. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I can't see a whole lot because I'm not sure where the dates are. Yeah, let's see if we can find the dates. Yeah, there we go. So you can look at a Gantt view, which is like if you use Microsoft Project, this is exactly what Microsoft Project looks like, right? You have your tasks over here, and then start and end dates, and it shows you that. We can switch over to a card view, just as a example, and there, you can change it. You can format or display the cards in different ways, and I can drag these tasks around. Don't want to do that because I'm going to break everything, but you can make this work kind of like a Scrum thing. So it's you can see that the interface is pretty simple. It's all should be very familiar. It's one of the reasons I was able to pick it up and work with it very quickly. Kind of the first aha moment was, oh, I can do all this Excel type stuff in here. Great. These are some other sheets. These generate these dashboards. Ultimately, we're going to walk through a couple of these. So this is a sample. This is a dashboard. This is what we use in our regular PMO meeting. We had one this morning. We looked at this. So you can see some statistics and information up at the top, some stuff I pull out of a calendar, some projects that are not live right now, right? So we can see what's coming, or what's on hold. And then the way our IT, so our PMO is for our IT department only. It's not out in the business, but our IT team is broken up into functional areas. So there's a commercial team that works with the commercial business units. There's a finance, HR, and legal that works with the finance, HR, and legal teams in the business. So that's why we have it broken out this way. This is what a dashboard can look like.
All right, Bill. Really quick, we do have some questions.
Okay.
So first question, is the red, yellow, and green status pulled directly from your other systems?
I'll show you how we count. So it's in this case, it's calculated. So we ask, trying to say how this works. So the way this works is we ask project managers for a weekly update. And we do that using the workflows and everything. So I'll show you in a minute. We ask for an update, and the three of the questions we ask are, right, the iron triangle. Like, is your project scope defined? Is your project on budget? And is your project on time? And they can basically pick a positive, neutral, or negative answer for each of those three things. And depending on how they answer that, we calculate a red, yellow, or green. But it does flow from kind of one sheet to another. That's what you're asking.
Next question. Is there
another question?
Oh yeah, we have a couple more. So is there a reason for which that smart sheet that you were showing is not shared with the rest of the team? See, like for security purposes?
Yes. Yep. So I'll show you that. That's that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go into next here. So let me show you how this, so that's just kind of, that was just kind of, I just wanted you to see this, what this looks like. So the way this works for us is I have that master sheet that we were looking at sits on top of everything. So this collects all the data that comes in from all over the place. Put this back to group view. This collects everything. The way it collects it is, there's two ways it collects it. I'm gonna just start actually from the beginning of the process. So one of the things is a form that I mentioned. So you can create some forms. I mentioned before, it's pretty simple what we do. So I can add a backlog item, or I can add a new project. And that new project there's an activation process, which is part of what our PMO is about. So if as a user, that's just a link. So I have actually I was gonna pull this up. I have for what it's worth, this has nothing to do with Smartsheet, but I have an IT PMO team that people are expected to use, and this has some information on how they're supposed to, hey, you want to activate a project? Here's how you do it. And they click those links. So when they click these links, they're going to get taken to this form right here. So I'm going to fill this out. All right, so implement new great solution. Lots of things need to be implemented quickly. I'll make myself in charge. I'll make Smith the business champion, and I'll just leave that blank because maybe we don't know it. What area is this? I'm going to put it in the infrastructure. So what functional area is this tied to? And then we break things out by these different types of programs, really just for statistical purposes. I'll put, need it done by tomorrow kind of thing. Actually, this is just the date that you requested. So one of the problems with Smartsheet that you don't see in Excel, for example, is the little stupid things that are in there. So one of the stupid things is I just want this date in this form to be today, always today. I'm just trying to collect when the person added this, and you can't do that. You can't make a field. If you try to set it to today, it's that date for everybody that looks at the form for the rest of the time. So that's one of the downsides of Smartsheet. So I'm going to submit this form, and it'll take a second here. So this is the first step in our PMO process. Somebody submits a project for activation. Usually doesn't take this long, of course. So, all right, great. Success, we've captured your response. So if I'm gonna go over and refresh this master sheet, go over this master sheet and scroll down to the bottom. And with a little luck, we'll see there's a new record here. Its status is new, and it's got the information that I typed in here. So if let's see here. I haven't seen it. So one of the things I think I missed setting up. So another thing that happens when somebody fills out that form, I get an email saying, hey, somebody added a new project. You need to follow up, basically. So I just didn't, that would be one of those automations. I just didn't tweak it when I was copying over. So here's what needs to happen. So there's some manual work in setting up a project. So when I get this, and I'm just going to do that, I give it the next number. I could auto number that, actually. I just don't. I set it as active, assuming it's been approved, and I go through and change anything else that needs to be changed. These are default values, so it's an initiating phase, and I always just make scope as changing as kind of the beginning of a project, because it's probably the case. And you see this yellow dot gets calculated here. If I were to change one of these to red, it goes to red as well. So doesn't matter. And then that's it. So this project is now live in this sheet. So it exists in our PMO. There's no real data. So that's the first thing that happens. Probably shouldn't be any questions about that. The second thing that happens, and is a little more complex, is I have this project workspace template, and I copy it. Anybody remember what number that was? 5, I think. 1805, and I call it, I forgot what I named the other one, so Great New Project, right? Just call it that. So I save this template as a new workspace. It's going to be out there in a second. It's called Great New Project, and it has dashboards, reports, and all the sheets that it needs to operate. Here we go. So now I have to find it. It's in here somewhere. Might be at the bottom. There it is. So it's kind of a mystery where it shows up. So now there's this out here. So what I do, so there's a couple steps still that I need to take, which again is kind of the downside of Smartsheet. Our PMO, we activate about 1 project a week, and it's not 1 a week. It's 5 1 week and none for a couple of weeks, and so on and so forth through the year. So 50 projects or so throughout the course of the year is not a ton of work. So I just update this. So usually I rename these. I'll just skip that now. But I go into this dashboard. This is another one of the stupid things of Smartsheet. I can't have it automatically change the name in here and have it formatted the way I want it formatted. So I just go in here and I change that that number or that name, and then I save it. And I go back out. I do that with this health check thing as well. The most important thing I do is go into here. I rename this just so I can find it more easily later if I need to. This is kind of the magic of everything, if you will. So there's this summary file. So in each project, everything ties into its own summary file. Then I go from the summary file to that master file. So when I change this number here to our project number, everybody cross their fingers, and I hit enter, you see that it pulls the information out of that master sheet into here. So to answer the question of why doesn't anybody else go into that master sheet, it's the gold source of the data. I make enough mistakes on my own without anybody else touching it, and there's no need. But basically, it's just a storage place. The real data actually exists for each project. My previous version of the PMO Smartsheet tool that I built was exactly the opposite. In other words, the master sheet is where everything got stored. So when somebody created an update, it got stored in it got stored in a local summary file. And then the master sheet was full of hundreds of complicated formulas. I mean, they were from line to line, they were the same, but each column had a different formula. And those formulas reached back out to each project and sucked all that information into the master sheet. There's a couple process reasons, but I also realized just how difficult it was to keep that thing running. To create a new project took 20 minutes, whereas here I am creating a new project in like 2 minutes, and it was prone to break. So that makes sense, I hope. So basically, this is a standalone project. Most of the data is going into here. I need to tweak a couple other things. So again, this is just so we can see this later. So I need to go in here and add this number into the project, into this report. So I'll do that real quick. I'm going to go in here and do this one real quick. Again, if I was just doing this by myself, 9 o'clock in the morning when somebody submitted this, it would take me 2 or 3 minutes to create a new project. And you notice when I type that number in, you may have noticed it pulled this information because the project exists. It's looking in the master sheet, it's going, hey, there's the project, and it grabs everything. And I think, do I need to change anything here? I usually have a checklist that I refer to, but I'm going to be all cocky right now and not do that. So this one needs to be updated to do this. So hope that I created all those properly. So now there's a new project. I just go out and I share it one of the problems with this is that I own every project. So I've got hundreds and hundreds of smart sheets, which is fine. It makes searching difficult, but otherwise it's not a big deal. But I share the sheet out to the project lead and the functional leader. I can give them different rights. I typically just give them editor rights, and they're allowed to share it with whoever they like. Once in a while, depending on who the user is, I may give them admin rights because I know they're going to do more stuff. And I hit that, and it goes out, and they get a notification. It says, hey, this project's been set up and it's been shared to you. Here's the link. They click that link and it takes them to this folder. In our PMO process, this is just a template. They're required to provide updates through this mechanism, which we'll look at next. Outside of that, they don't have to use this. They do not have to use the project plan I give them. They do not have to use the dashboard, although it's kind of automatic from the updates they provide. They don't have to use the reports that are out here. They can do what they want. They can, so the project template that we send out is something you'll recognize. I mean, it's just a basic waterfall project plan. And just get the instructions here, right? So I give them one that says at a high level, right? You set up the project, you plan the project, you execute the project, you launch the project, and you close the project. This may or may not be useful. It is in most cases. We also have an agile, sprint-based project plan that we can substitute in there. It just takes a minute to substitute the different project plan. I could also build just a couple different workspace templates. I could have one for dashboard, or one for waterfall, or one for agile. Then I could ask up front, hey, what kind of project is this going to be? Most of our project managers wouldn't know how to answer that question up front, is my guess. Which means then I just have to go fix a bunch of stuff. So I could tackle it a couple different ways. I just keep it simple. So they go in here and they do this. And the first thing they need to do a couple things immediately. So one is, well, let me take a step back. One is to update the project plan. So we'll just pretend like this is the one. And the reason I need them to update their project plan is I pull a couple key dates out of here. And that's, so they're expected to go in here, build the plan, update the dates. If they're just going to use this template to start, I expect them to put in correct dates. You can see that these are a lot of these dates are in the past. It's not the way it's going to be. But I ask them to update dates. So I'm just going to put some dates in here. Let's call this April 1st for go live. Let's see, got these things in here. So let me take out these predecessors. And that way I can manually update this date. So let's make go live April 1st. And we'll make project end July 1st for whatever reason. So we got those dates in there, just one date. So the reason, so they need to update those things, and you see this milestone column. I use this, it's a tag. So basically, if you use project or other tools, that a milestone is basically a task that has zero length, right? It's kind of it either happened or it hasn't happened. So that's the way it works here. On top of that, I ask people to give key milestones a name. You'll see why in a few minutes. But the two key ones that are absolutely required are go live and project end. You'll see, I guess I don't do that anymore. You'll see where those show up. Actually, you'll see that in just a moment. So I asked them to do those updates. They're going to do more than what I just did, obviously. Second thing they do is they go into, they go into their dashboard. And the next thing I want them to do is to update any, we call them vitals, core information about the project. Now, they probably did this when they submitted it for activation, but if they kind of left these things blank, they can fill it out now. So we're not looking at the project what the hell are we looking at here? I'm not sure what this is. Anyways, because this isn't the information I put. But anyways, they're expected to update this. So if they didn't put a description in, they need to put a description in, so on and so forth, to keep this up to date. It's just like core information that's typically a one-time activity. And you'll see that some of that information, I'm not pulling from the right place. So it would be showing up in here, business champion and the executive sponsor. You see it's pulling the name here, so on and so forth. So they do that. Any questions? At the risk of confusing you further for a moment, I'm going to jump over to something else. Any questions? I see what I did wrong.
Well, there was one in regards to being able to share checklist freely. I am assuming that you can just share with anyone who has a link.
Yep, and you can share outside of I can share outside of GE Lighting. I can share this stuff with anybody at any company. One of the controls you can put in place, which we do, is that you have to safe list the domain. So if I wanted to share this with somebody at progressive.com, there's a safe listing process to, I mean, basically just contact me essentially and say, our security team and me, and say, hey, can we safe list Progressive? I say yes, add them to a list, and then you can share that to anybody outside the company.
All right, we do have one more question.
Okay.
Can you have dependencies from other projects?
It works the same way as same project. You can have dependencies or predecessors. Let me jump back into, I'm bouncing around here a little bit. I apologize. So if I stretch this out, I think that's what you're asking, right? Dependencies, predecessors. So you can build all that stuff out, and you can see that here. And I believe there is a way to, I think, yeah, somewhere up here, there's a way to, you can view the critical path like you can in project. You can highlight in here, so on and so forth.
So basically, I'm not familiar with the smart sheets to that degree, but I am assuming that you could import like Microsoft projects.
Yes.
Sales timeline. Gotcha.
Yep, I can import. It's a good question. So I can import from Excel or Project or Trello. It's interesting. They seem to have a relationship with Atlassian. So I can import from these things, and on the other side, I can export out of here. So a lot of exporting out of Excel for different things. So that's that. So
sounds good. Last question.
Yep.
My radar. Could you safe list contractors that may be using Gmail, like personal email accounts, like from Gmail or Yahoo, etc.?
Yep. So we don't, so it's nice, you can't, we would not safe list gmail.com or yahoo.com for obvious reasons, but we can safe list on an individual email address. You can safe list by domain or individual email address. Good question. All right. I am going to jump. I don't know if I confused myself a little bit. I am going to jump to I see what I did. So I just made a mistake creating that new project. So I used the wrong workspace template. I didn't use the demo workspace template, which is tied to everything, which is why you're going to see that. So I'm going to just jump to the way this works. So I'm just going to open up a project, an actual real live project that is going on. So this project right here, replacing Office 365, right? Not a mystery. What we ask projects, crap. I apologize. Like I said, I asked for forgiveness up front. So let me open up a different project. Actually, let me open this one I just created this morning. So this is a project to replace one of the systems we have. Just created it this morning. I doubt the project manager has even gone in here. So the first thing we asked them to do is update these projects. So it got set up the same way that I showed you. And the user, it gets shared to the user, and they come in here as they normally would. First thing we ask them to do is update these vitals, typically a one-time thing. And then we ask them to update the project status. So you'll see here that just some information is blank. That's because no status updates ever been done, and there's some fields here that have never been done. So we have to do update the project status. That can happen two ways. One is they go in, here, and things are going great. We used to ask for status and kind of risks. We change that to be dynamics and just kind of path to green. So if you are yellow or red, how are you going to get back to green? Here, so we also asked them for these dates here. So I noted that they're collected in the project plan. We also asked for them here. I'll explain why for a second. And then we asked them to update these things. So we'll just pick something here. Oops. Yeah. And save. And go back here. So we asked them, they asked them to do a preliminary status update. I don't know what's working. I don't know what's going on here. That information should be showing up here. The dates that I provided. I don't know why it's not. Maybe I need to refresh. I walked through this a couple times to make sure it all worked, but oh, there we go. It's just an update. Usually it's instantaneous. It can take 20, 30 seconds sometimes. So good news is you see that this was green before, it's yellow. The dates I put in here now, my comments are in here, and the status update in here. So the reason I ask for, this is a non-Smartsheet thing. The reason I asked for the dates here is what I did in that previous version that I talked about is I was very ambitious and I wanted to drive a lot of behavior. So the behavior I wanted to drive most of all was, hey, you need to have a project plan. You need to have a good project plan. And one of the ways I'm going to force that is, whether you like it or not, I'm going to pull the dates for specific things directly out of your plan. So if you don't update your plan, if you don't have a plan, first of all, or if you don't update your plan, the dates are going to be wrong and people are going to see it. That didn't work so well for a variety of reasons. We don't have a lot of professional project managers, folks like you on the phone that know what they're doing. So building out plans with predecessors and durations and milestones was just a difficult thing to understand. And then second of all, I mean, it just got ignored from time to time. And the way we run our PMO, it didn't matter in the end. So I took that apart and I said, hey, I want you to put those dates in the project plan, but I also want you to pull them from the status update. So you can cheat me, and whatever you put in the status update, which is these dates, is what I'm going to show over here and what's going to flow upwards. I'm going to tell you if they match or don't match your project plan. So if you are a good project manager and it's on top of things, you're going to make sure that those things are synced up so that if you're sharing your project plan to actually run your project or to report out, you're looking at the right dates and the right things. Let's see. So this dashboard, I don't need to go into it. It just collects a lot of information. It collects all this, kind of where things are going. Milestones. So if the user added more milestone tags, those would show up here. You can, in the plan, you can mark things as at risk, and they would appear here. And then one of the things that we save from week to week to week is you do a status update. We save all the history of all that, which is something people love, actually. So this is what that looks like. I'm going to jump to all this prep work I did, just tossing away. So that information, that's all what we just saw is what the project manager looks at and sees and hopefully is sharing with his team and project sponsor, business champion in our case, and so on. I mentioned that we work in these functional areas. So the functional team has a dashboard as well, which is what we're looking at. A lot of the same information. You see, it's all format. A lot of it's formatted the same. I can reuse a lot of things. Summarizes what they got going on. So just, they have 10 active projects, and it just breaks it down just for fun. One of the things they can do a couple things. One is they can update this text update, which they all do, shockingly. And then with Smartsheets, I'm just going to rank this, and I'll explain what I'm doing here in a second. So I just changed this contingent worker project to number 1. And you will see that it now appears here. So one of the bad things about Smartsheets and these dashboards is they aren't super dynamic. These fields are looking at a specific row in a grid and pulling the information. And I can show you what that means to make more sense. So if I change the order of things, this doesn't reflect, this looks at row 46 in my ranking spreadsheet, no matter what. So the only way to display different things here is to force data into those different sheets, which is what's happening in the background. So I just changed that. This now shows up as the #1 project, and the manager of the functional team is going off and talking to the leaders of the functional areas, and he's using this to give some status updates. And they do use this heavily, otherwise I wouldn't build it. We focus on the top 3 projects, collect the rest of the projects, and they talk about that. Right? So one of the things with a PMO and this kind of collection and dashboards is you don't want to be diving down into projects, and you don't want to be looking at plans with senior management. You just want, this is what they're talking about. Is it green, yellow, red? What's going on? What do you got to fix? And what are the dates looking like? So does that make sense? I see there's a bunch of questions coming in. Let's pause for a question or two.
5-minute warning here. As
Yeah.
End of the time frame, but I definitely want to feed in a couple of questions. First, you mentioned Jira. What benefit is it to use this, meaning Smartsheet, versus Jira? For a similar
it's difficult to build a true, I mean, really the difference, I mean, Jira is, I would say more purpose-built, right? It's built specifically to execute projects, and it's specifically built, for the most part, to execute agile projects. So the tools that are in there are built for that. Smartsheet isn't. It's not built for any given process. So you have to build a lot of things yourself, which is what I'm showing you. I mean, it took me a while to build all this stuff. I had to build this in Jira. Some of that stuff might exist. I think that's the key difference. I'm not a Jira user. I'm starting I just started this week, actually. I started making some updates in Jira. For us in our organization, it's going to be a different level of organization. I think we're going to want to push, so I had this project plan templates and everything else. I think we're going to want to push all that stuff down to Jira and execute the projects out of Jira, and then have summary information flow up into Smartsheet where we can more easily build these easily consumable dashboards. It's one thing.
Gotcha. Next question, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So after we're done here, I'm gonna share my screen just so we can share our PDU code. Okay. But the next question is the dashboard just a very configured worksheet, or is it like a special type of sheet or app within a Smartsheet?
So I'll show you. I'll take one more minute, Juan. So what I wanted to show you is this IT PMO meeting dashboard. So this is I showed you saw this earlier. This is the sheet that we use in the PMO meeting to drive our discussion. So this rolls up, all the data rolls up from that plan to the functional area. And you'll notice, despite my fumbling around a little bit, when I did my update for that single project, it automatically showed up in the functional dashboard. I didn't need to do anything except sort it differently. It also rolls up to this PMO dashboard. So here, this is looking at all projects across our PMO. Finance had 10 of them. We've got 34. And I'm just going to roll down here very quickly. You see the contingent workers in the #1 area, and I can just tap on any of these, and it takes me back into that functional area. So the functional leader can kind of give a full update from his area, and then I go back to here. So 30 more seconds. Here's what this is. If I go in and edit this, right, this is a report. It's working more or less like Excel. It's saying, where's the data? Okay, might be 45 seconds if it takes a second to load here. So where's the data? I have some summary sheets built in the background. So where's the data? Here's the data right here. I need you to pull that out. and I need you to generate a graph, I can change colors and the type of graph and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a chart. This piece, this right here, is just a text field. So all I'm doing is saying, I mentioned this before, I'm just saying, hey, go to this cell in this table or this row and pull that information. So it's pointing at that, even though this was highlighted, it's pointing at that right now, and it pulls it. So as the information is updated in those grids and underneath, it's all automatically flowing up here where I have summaries put together that are calculating things. They're updating on the fly, and charts and whatnot are going on. So the last comment I'll make, apologize for running long, but the last comment I'll make is, despite what might seem pretty complex, this runs itself. I do not ever go in and fix things or tweak things or adjust things. Only thing I do is I go in and create new projects and I close projects. And because I'm a leader, I go in and update my own projects, but I do not have to do anything. This thing is pretty rock solid. It runs its own thing, which is great because that way functional leaders can count on it being available when they need it to. And they don't, the benefit to them is they don't have to sit down and put together a PowerPoint deck and reach out to 5 project managers and ask them where things are at, right? You guys have all been through that pain. This is all automatic and it's all real time, and I'll stop talking now.
No, by all means, thank you so much, Bill. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
I'll jump in the chat and try to answer a couple of questions if I can.
Absolutely.
In writing.
So let me see. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
All right. So let me just grant you this certificate of appreciation for your contribution. Okay. We appreciate you sharing your insight and expertise with Smartsheet. Definitely a very powerful, very helpful tool. I just want to remind everyone that we are looking for speakers. We want anyone who is really good and really experienced with a particular application or software that might be of use to other project management practitioners to join us and help us enrich our robust media library aimed at improving the practice of project management. We do have some upcoming events. We have a burnout prevention strategic action of wise leaders, few webinars and events coming up. We are still calling for applications for our awards. You can definitely find more information about that in our social media websites, as well as in our PMI NEO website. The address is right there, pmineo.org. Now, for anyone that is looking for a PDU code, here it is, right there, the first line. Please let us know if you have any issues claiming this code. I'm gonna leave it there for a couple seconds so everyone can jot it down, take screenshots. Of course, if you have any issues seeing the screen, we can always share that with you later on. Just reach out to us. And lastly, are there any other questions for Bill before we close today's session? I do. Can you see the chat, Bill? There's a, let me see. Oh, missed the code. Let me just put the code. There we go. There's the code. All right. So unless you have any closing comments, Bill, I think this is it for this edition of the Tech Thursday webinar. As always, please follow us on social media. Feel free to reach out to us and let us know if there are any particular topics or applications you would like us to see in these webinars in the future. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have
yeah, one second, Juan. So I just put my email address in the chat. It's just bill.cook@savant.com. If you have any questions, I can point you to, Smartsheet sales team. I'll do the best I can. And thank you for your patience with my fumbling in the middle of that there. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday and a great weekend. Goodbye.